All right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. And today on the show, it's time for another trailer roundup. We are talking about a whole bunch of movies coming out in April. Just doing a couple of puzzle pieces each, just based on the trailers, just to kind of preview the month and, try to figure out what's coming soon. So joining me, as always, for these trailer roundups is Jason Harris from Awesome Movie Year, and we have a fun conversation talking about 10 upcoming movies, also catching up what we ended up watching from last month's trailer roundup. So got a great conversation coming up. Before we get to it, as always, I got to remind you, make sure you're subscribed to Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts. That way, when we do cover these movies in full, unfortunately without Jason, but one of these days we'll get Jason on a full one again, you'll get the episode right there into your podcast app as soon as it comes out. You could, of course, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, Podchaser, Pocket Casts, all the podcast apps that are out there. And if you enjoy what we do here on the show, make sure to rate and review us 5 stars. We would appreciate that. You can follow us on social media at Piecing Pod and join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. So with all that said, let's keep this short and sweet. We got a lot of movies to talk about, so let's get to the conversation and talk about a bunch of April movies. Jason Harris is back with us for another month of trailers. Jason, how's it going?
Dave, it's springtime, which in Vegas means it's already hit 90. Who says climate change is real?
Yeah, but it could be like cold again in a week. I mean, nothing means anything anymore.
Nothing means anything. Now we're starting to agree on things.
There you go. All right. We got a lot of trailers to get into, and I know you've got places to be. So let's just jump right in and talk about last month's movies and see what we actually got around to watching. Starting off After Yang, which I still haven't watched. I'm hopefully going to get to it this weekend. Did you watch it?
I did watch After Yang.
Did you like it?
As I said, I didn't like it as much as the director's last effort, but still interesting. You know, this kind of whole world of like AI and clones and, how families relate. And it's very pretty too. So it was worth watching. It's a quick watch.
All right. Hoping to get to it soon. But next up is Turning Red, which we did cover here on the podcast, which I loved. Did you watch Turning Red?
I did watch it, Dave, and any movie that dares talk about a natural bodily function that a woman goes through, how dare them, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
How dare them?
Just awful. That evil corporation that is infecting our kids' brains.
But, obviously, I had no problem with that, with the talk of menstruation, but I didn't like the movie as much as you. I thought the mother was such an unrealistic character. I never was rooting for her to do anything except like go away. So I thought it was all right. I didn't love it.
All right. Next up is Gold, which did come out this week on VOD. I'm still looking forward to it, but I'm still in my Oscar, catch up phase this week, so I did not get to it. Did you watch it?
There's gold in them there hills. No, I didn't.
Okay. Next is Deep Water, which I loved in its own kind of so bad it's good way. I had a blast laughing about it, and we did record an episode on it with Shannon McGrew from Nightmares Conjurings. That's coming soon, next week actually. Did you watch it?
I didn't get to watch it. As I mentioned to you privately, Dave, I did really quite enjoy your episode of Piecing It Together with Joe Black. So I'll have to listen to more of these episodes that I'm not on. But no, I mean, I heard so many bad things about it that I didn't watch it. But maybe I should because, like you said, it could be fun in that ridiculous.
Ben Affleck is really actually good in it, but the movie is just ridiculous, just totally ridiculous. But next up is X, which I also really liked and also have an episode coming soon on with filmmaker Paul Hibbard. Did you watch X?
Super excited to see it. It seems to be like an early favorite of a lot of people this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up is Windfall, which I know you saw and also didn't like that much. I really liked it, and I'm going to be recording an episode with your Awesome Movie Year co-host Josh Bell soon.
Oh, cool. Have Josh on another regular episode and never have me on. That's awesome. Thought it was all right. It just didn't pick up for me. I like the look of it. I thought it was really the most fun Jesse Plemons has had in a movie in a long time. He
Yeah,
was
yeah.
let loose a little, but just didn't do it for me.
We're gonna get you on an episode again soon, Jason. I promise. Next up, which I already have an episode planned, so you can't be on this one. But The Lost City, which I'm seeing tonight, I believe, with my dad.
Well,
I have not
I
seen
don't
yet.
want to be on that episode.
Yeah, you don't
You
want to
keep
watch it or
going with all
anything.
these sweaty slobs, keep leading these pigs to their trough so they can be on your stupid regular episodes.
You are one of the pigs that is in my trough, Jason. So
I have no desire to see it, but I know Josh already said it was all right. If you say so, yeah, I probably still won't watch it.
it seems like a movie you'd watch on like an airplane one day or something, just to pass the time. But I don't know. The Duke is up next, which actually I don't believe is out yet. I think it comes out this coming week, but it looked good.
Yeah, again, we're in that phase of didn't this come out 2 months ago or something
right.
like that?
It's so hard to tell sometimes. Yeah. Next up, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is not out yet. It comes out this weekend that we're recording in limited release. It'll be out April 8th in wide release. And I unfortunately had to miss the press screening of that one, but I can't wait to see it.
As you know, I was not invited because I'm not part of the corrupt Nevada Film Critics Association. You greasy palm screw jobs. I don't want any part of it.
Nevada Film, we apologize to you. It's actually the Las Vegas Film Critics Society, but
well, the rest of Nevada, they're okay with it. But, the LV Critics Society, bunch of on the take gomers.
And at the end of last month's episode, we very quickly touched on 3 other movies that I was being a stickler about not watching the trailers for whatever reasons.
You are.
Yeah. The Batman, which of course we did a huge super episode on. Did you get around to that?
No, because it's 3 hours long. It's coming out next month on HBO Max. I'll just sit and watch it at my house.
It's good. I didn't love it as much as some people, but it's all right. The Adam Project, which just looks terrible. I've seen the trailer since then. I ended up missing that screening I was supposed to be going to, which was the reason I didn't watch the trailer last month.
You're so lazy, man. So you didn't even do your job the excuse you used to not watch the trailer, you didn't even follow through on your excuse.
Right. Terrible.
You're pathetic.
I'm the worst podcast host ever. And next up was Drive My Car, which of course may very well win a bunch of Oscars this weekend, but I did watch that and it's very good.
Oh, cool. I'm excited. As you know, we've been deep in awesome movie year, 1980 season. So a lot of my movie watching right now is kind of dictated by that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, let's get to this month's movies, and we're starting it out.
Hey, Dave, before we start, let me shout out one of our listeners.
Sure.
That swine Josh Bell told me that his lovely sister Brandy, hi Brandy, loves listening to our trailer episodes. So that's nice. Yeah, she's in Chile, I think. I don't know. She's somewhere in South America. Chile. I'm going to go with Chile. So hi, right. Brandy. You're our favorite Bell.
Brandy, you're awesome, and thank you for subscribing to the Patreon, which 7 other people do.
Yeah, not like your dumb brothers. Don't like either of them.
All right. Let's get to April's movie, starting with You Won't Be Alone on April 1st, this Australian film from director Goran Stalevski. This is his first feature. He's done a string of shorts, but he gets the Visionary Director title card, which I found interesting. But it stars Noomi Rapace, and it looks really creepy. It's like a witch movie, but it's about this woman who, I guess as a baby is kidnapped and I'm guessing killed, but then starts taking over new people's forms as they get killed. I don't know. It looks really weird.
I didn't get any of that. By the way, when you say, Australian visionary filmmaker, and he's only done a bunch of shorts, remember in Australia, they care about culture from a government. Like we care about culture, but our government could give an F less, right? So so a lot of these are like government supported or funded shorts. So maybe this guy is a visionary.
Sure.
I just hope since it's Australian at some point in this movie, someone says, that's not a wolf lady. This is a wolf lady. But I got a different view of it. Like it was like that wolf lady and she takes the baby from the mother and
Mm-hmm.
raises the baby, but then the mother and the baby reconnect, and it's told from all these different point of views. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but you
Okay.
know what? Either way, it's pretty cool because I think the trailer was intriguing enough where it's like, huh, what is going on here? But in like
Yeah.
a good way. Like I want to see this thing. I think so.
Sure, yeah. And I mean, you're not big on horror, but this is definitely horror, or at least horror adjacent.
Yeah, I
So
think so because this has more of that mind screw. You know, see,
yeah,
I cleaned up my language there for you.
there you go. Nice.
So immediately I thought of Maleficent and Rapunzel for that kind of, taking of the baby angles and everything like that.
Sure.
And then, there's one part where it looks like that the child or the woman is going to like spawn from her back, like these, whatever they might be, like wolf like spikes or whatnot. So
Mm,
and this is since this is such a mind screw, I felt like that fit in perfectly with the Black Swan elements of both tonally and the spawning of the body parts. And the last
sure.
thing I picked was just because it's told, like you said, it's about a witch, it's about this, it's about that. It's from all these different point of views. I thought WandaVision did a good job of like showing us different points of view throughout the season, and of course, there's a witch in that a lot. So the
There is a
witch.
witch in WandaVision, from what I've been told. So yeah, no, yeah, those are good ones. I hadn't thought of Black Swan, but certainly like that shot reminded me of that. You're absolutely right. That totally feels like that. I'll go with the movie The Witch, which I think just the feel and the vibe of this whole thing feels like that. Very dark, very bleak, and like you said, there's a witch. So there's that. Now, again, when I was kind of describing the movie, I was talking about how it seems like this person is like taking these new forms. That's at least what I was getting from it. So I was thinking of Terminator 2 with the T-1000 killing people and then assuming their shape, becoming the cop and then becoming the mother, and all that stuff. So I thought of that, and then the last one I thought of was Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson. Just as this person is kind of going through life, and spoiler alert, is an alien, but and this is possibly a witch, or like you said, a wolf person or
Did you know
something.
you said spoiler alert and you didn't give anyone a chance to not get that spoiled? You could have, when you say spoiler alert, you're supposed to wait a second so they can cover their ears, dummy.
People know when they come to piecing it together to be ready. So what?
Admittedly, when I listen to piecing it together, I do want to cover my ears often.
Thank you, Jason. So anyway, let's move on. The Contractor is also coming out April 1st in theaters. It stars Chris Pine, Kiefer Sutherland, Ben Foster, Gillian Jacobs. Looks like a pretty standard action thriller, and this. We're going to talk about it later, but the second of two Chris Pine action movies coming out this month. What do you think about this one?
I thought it looked better than just a standard action movie, this
Yeah,
kind of like soldiers, done wrong who have to private contract and take out bad guys. Sure, we've seen stuff like that, but then it's like, are they really taking out bad guys, or what's going on? That kind of who's the real bad guy thing. It's probably the boss because it's always the boss. So maybe you're right, but
sure.
it looked like a good version of this. So
Yeah, it looked good. I was kind of a little surprised. Like the other Chris Pine action movie is going to Amazon Prime. I was surprised this one's going to theaters. It seems like the kind of thing that would be a streaming exclusive right now.
I don't even know what a movie theater is anymore.
Good point.
Speaking of such, my first piece was a television show called Homeland from Showtime about,
Sure.
a soldier who comes back and whose side is he really on? Obviously, you have that kind of Mission Impossible feel, and that guy
Mm.
always gets betrayed. Like, dude, for a guy who's good at solving missions, like, you know, learn who a bad guy is. I thought Assault, you could say the Black Widow also, like who's working for who type
Hmm.
thing. And the last one, which was on my top 10 list last year, was Riders of Justice, the Mads
Mm.
Mikkelsen movie, where it's like we're out to kill a bad guy, but who's really the bad guy and why are we doing what we're doing type thing.
Sure. I also had Mission Impossible, also Bond. I'm pretty sure both Mission Impossible and Bond have had storylines where they had to kidnap a scientist who was working on some kind of a virus, which seems to be what's happening here, I think. So definitely one entry of each of those series. And then also like all the various Tom Clancy style thrillers, like the Jack Ryans and all that stuff. I thought it kind of reminded me of those kind of movies as well. So, like I said, kind of, I don't know, it reminded me of a standard kind of thing, but it looked like a good one, like you said. It definitely looks like it's going to be pretty good.
It's Chris Pine month, Dave.
Chris Pine rocks. I do like Chris Pine. So next up, a movie we could spend very little time on because it just looks so bad. It's called The Bubble, coming also April 1st on Netflix. It's Judd Apatow's latest, someone who I have loved over the years. I've always loved Judd Apatow movies, but this looks terrible. It's about a bunch of comic actors who are stuck in quarantine working on a movie together, and all the issues they run into being stuck together, it just seems like this should be over by now. Like
It feels very dated.
yeah, like if this came out a year ago, but at this point, who wants to see this? I don't know.
Did they film this during quarantine or?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I would assume they did because otherwise, why? But yeah, I'm not 100% sure. And by the way, it stars his daughter, Iris Apatow, who's been doing a lot lately, and Leslie Mann, of course, and Karen Gillian and Maria Bakalova from the Borat movie.
Yeah, and Keegan. So,
yeah,
I mean, you can't complain about the cast, right?
Sure.
The jokes weren't very funny, and the concept just feels like Fred Armisen's in it. It's like they're trying to give him like the nose swab test, and it's like, hey, do some improvs of ways you can avoid getting your nose swabbed. It's like, it just doesn't look good.
No.
Maybe we'll be wrong, right? But
yeah, hopefully.
Who knows, man? I will say, Dave, because, I was trying to look, this is, a little personal aside here, David.
Yes.
As you know, I at the beginning of the pandemic, I was trying to write a Zoom movie, and my whole thought was like, hey, there's probably going to be like a bunch of horror movies, right? So let me do something different. And I came up with this idea, Paul in Quarantine, and it's basically this one character, and he's doing all these different Zoom calls, ex-girlfriend he hasn't spoke to in 15 years, grandma was telling him to call his mom, best friend who says he's going to kill himself, and he doesn't put up with the nonsense about that. And my whole thing was like, I couldn't figure out the technology to make that interesting. I just didn't want this, like me and you looking at each other. So by the time I started figuring out the technology, I was like, this is already dated, right?
Right.
So,
yeah.
And, things can morph. Like, so one of those pieces just, we turned it into a play. It was on the Virtual Arts New Playwrights Festival or New Plays Festival. We closed it out. It was the one about the friend saying he was going to kill himself, and the character saying, ugh, you're not going to kill yourself, blah, blah, blah. You always say you're going to kill yourself. You have no follow-through, blah, 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 right? And that's called Sandwiches Suicide in Hulu. And if anybody wants to see that, I'll send them a link for free. That's a fun little piece, but I think you have to adapt. I'm not saying rah me. I'm just saying it's time to, I don't know. It looks like it missed the mark. We'll see. Don't Look Up, that kind of playing with media. There's like a lot of TikToks in this, and like how is this fitting in the very modern world? I thought of that was the last thing I saw on Netflix. I liked it. The best piece to come out of the quarantine was a very kind of static piece of just two guys talking, which was staged, which with David Tennant and Michael Sheen. Have you seen that?
I didn't see that. No.
Do you know about it? It's on Hulu, and it's basically David Tennant and Michael Sheen talking to each other for 25 minutes at a time, and they're talking about how they're going to produce a play. And of course, they're just like, actors in their own like world. They as the Brits say, take the piss out of each other very well. It's very good. And then I'm trying to give this thing the benefit of the doubt. We've talked about a lot of movies that go behind the scenes of movies making of. So I picked a really good one that I wonder if you know. It's Peter O'Toole, My Favorite Year, from 1982. I think Mark Lynn Baker was the co-star. It's about, a guy who gets to meet his hero on a variety show, but it's like, the making of the sausage on a production.
Right. Yeah, I've never actually seen it, but I could see that though as being a inspiration here. Going back to the whole lockdown thing and pandemic movies, I thought of the first COVID-19 pandemic movie. I'm pretty sure, Lockdown, with Anne Hathaway and Chiwetel Ejiofor, which came out, by the way, January 14th, 2021. And already felt like we don't really want this, so here we are. I thought of course, Tropic Thunder as, kind of, the fake movies within the movies. So especially kind of parodying big blockbuster type movies. So you got that there. And then lastly, I thought of Funny People, Judd Apatow's own movie, as continuing to kind of explore the behind the scenes of funny people making movies and just everything that goes on that kind of blends between the actual movie they're making and their own real lives and everything that they go through trying to be creative and trying to be funny. And so, yeah, that's that. I will definitely be watching because I can't not watch the new Judd Apatow movie, but man, does that trailer just suck.
What last was King of Staten Island, which was fine.
It was all
I
right.
think it was what's the last great movie Apatow's directed in your mind?
I mean, I guess it would be This Is 40.
Yeah,
Funny
that's super fun. I like that one.
Yeah.
A lot, so.
And supposedly he's going to be making a sequel to that. But Funny People, I do want to go back to one of these days. I didn't love it at the time.
I thought it was horrible. And
Yeah.
and I'm a comedian, so I'm watching it
Yeah.
from that standpoint. But the idea
Yeah.
that this guy's struggling and he's passed at the Comedy Store, doesn't really work for me.
Right,
And then it
that's
just
what it
became
jive.
two different movies. It was like, hey, the first half is comedy and now it's a love story. And it's like, well, there's no melding of these two. I didn't like that one at all. But, we want Judd Apatow to do well. He defined a generation of comedy, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, another huge name for our next movie, Michael Bay is back with Ambulance on April 8th in theaters, his first theatrically released movie in a while. Stars Jake Gyllenhaal and Yahya Abdul-Mateen as a guy who needs money for a medical bill, and he turns to his brother, his adopted brother, who's a criminal, who suggests robbing a bank, and it, of course, goes wrong, and they take hostages. It looks like a Michael Bay movie. It looks fun. I'm totally in for this.
It looks like a lot of movies that I feel like have been out recently,
Yeah.
And also when I was talking about wait, didn't we already cover this on this episode? I feel like
Right.
we've talked about previewing this for months at this point.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this movie for a long, long time. And by the way, I should mention it's also apparently a loose remake of a 2005 Danish movie, with basically the same story. But
is my guy Mads in that one?
I don't think so.
Oh,
No,
wow.
I don't think anybody big was in it.
I mean, I didn't put this on my list, but it doesn't look that dissimilar from Jake Gyllenhaal's last movie on Netflix, where he's in the control center trying to talk people down from doing bad things, whatever that one.
Which we previewed on this, and then I never got around to watching.
Yeah,
I
which was just
forget.
all right. So
Yeah.
look, there's that. We see these fancy cars, and we're gonna do a robbery, stupid Fast and the Furious stuff right away.
Sure.
One of the greatest movies ever made is Dog Day Afternoon, which is about a bank robbery for a purpose, and the reveal of that purpose is so great. So I put that in there.
Mhm.
These are ex-military, I think, doing a robbery. So I put Three Kings in there, and it definitely feels a little Wrath of Manny from last year, especially with the
Sure.
music. And
Yeah.
then I never saw John Q, but that was like Denzel robbing or holding up a hospital to get his son a heart transplant. So
Right.
again, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy? Why are we doing bad things for a good cause type thing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That kind of is the story behind my first piece, which is Hell or High Water from
love that
Taylor
movie.
Sheridan. Yeah, and the good intentions behind a bank robbery. So it's definitely kind of a thing where you can probably find quite a few movies that kind of fit that mold. On the other end of the spectrum, though, I also thought about S. Craig Zahler's Dragged Across Concrete, just for a bank robbery told, that goes completely wrong and things get crazy violent and over the top. So not good intentions on that one, though.
Yeah, man, no, I've seen his other movie, the Cell Block 99.
You saw that
But,
one. You never saw
yeah.
Dragged Across Concrete?
No, but I would.
Yeah,
Speaking
it's
of
fun.
which, we're getting close to a Mel Gibson movie, so you're in that Zoller neighborhood there. So.
This is true. This is true. It's coming soon. But first, we've got All the Old Knives, which is the other Chris Pine movie, April 8th on Amazon Prime. This one also has Lawrence Fishburne and Tandy Newton, Jonathan Pryce. This one's more of like a espionage thriller, spy stuff. It, again, looks kind of old school though, like old school in that kind of a thing. It's kind of got
Like the
a
movie
romantic.
Old School.
It's a little bit like the movie Old School. Yes, it's also got a romantic thing going on in it too between the guy and his contact within the CIA or whatever it is.
Yeah, so I'm excited for this one. I guess was this the one that was like based on the screenwriter also wrote the novel, and it's supposed to be a big, huge novel. I mean, you mentioned that kind of spy versus spy. Are we working together? I don't know what the deal is, but there's that romantic angle, and that reminded me of Duplicity, which was a bummer of a movie, not the Multiplicity with Michael Keaton, which was also not very
Okay.
good, but Duplicity with Clive Owen and Julia Roberts as those two spies who are like, are they working together? Are they not? Like, are they? And they're always having an affair. We talked about 7,500 and, last year, that was a good movie, and Passenger 57, who's on the plane, who's doing what, all that kind of fun stuff. And then the last pieces were those like kind of, there's always a dirty cop, someone in the dirty organization. And Dave, for you, I picked Copland just so I could say, Officer, I gave you a chance to be a cop and you blew it.
Thank you. I'm so happy you used Copland as the puzzle piece. Oh man, I'm gonna go Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Yeah, dealing with thrillers with spies and moles and traitors and all that kind of stuff. I had trouble thinking though of like a romantic espionage thriller, like which is what this is, and there's so many of them. I know the first one that came to mind was Night and Day, that Tom Cruise,
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yeah, there's that one too. I don't know with this particular tone if any of those kind of fit, but there's definitely movies like
That's
this.
why I went with Duplicity there. But but Dave, I did think of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, but then there's no part in that where they say, Tinker, I gave you a chance to be a tailor and a spy.
Getting them in. I love it.
You're talented.
I hope you've got this much effort behind your Mark Wahlberg impression that's about to come up.
Say hi to your mother.
So next up is Father Stew, April 13th in theaters. An inspirational, let's put that in quote unquote, true story about a self-destructive boxer who became a priest. Stars Mark Wahlberg and Mel Gibson, who were previously together in the Daddy's Home sequel. Maybe I'm just being negative, but I laughed out loud when I saw this trailer in the theater before Uncharted.
It doesn't
I'm sure
look
this is
good,
going to be.
Dave.
It looks bad, and I'm sure it's going to be very inspirational for some certain kind of people, but for me, it just looked like a joke.
Yeah, I also was wondering how often they're both using accents in this southern accents.
Yeah.
Partially, it didn't look good. I mean, he's a boxer. You always think of back to the fighter. And,
Sure. Yeah.
Was Jackie Weaver's mom in that too? I don't remember. So there you go.
I think
That's
so.
right there. And then I thought of the way back with Ben Affleck of this kind of like troubled soul who finds redemption, and now all these people start to come and root him on. There's a ton of movies like that, but those were the two. Then I'm good.
All right. Yeah. I thought of The Master, the Paul Thomas Anderson movie, a broken man using religion as his way forward. That's a little more dark, though. And then on the more brighter side of things, I thought of Chloe Zhao's The Rider, which also kind of dark. But, somebody who just only knows one thing, they can't do it anymore. They know it's going to destroy them. And so they find this more positive path to go down. And, I'm sure, I'm not going to end up covering this movie, but I'm sure there's got to be a bunch of those like Christian straight to VOD movies that probably have similar arcs for their main characters. So
what was the Gerard Butler one? Like biker preacher?
Machine Gun
Preacher. Yeah, there you go.
That might be like that. Yeah, I could see
Don't you
that.
wish it was Biker Preacher Machine Man Gun?
Yeah, that would be good too.
Soldier Spy.
He'd be a robot in that one.
Yeah, Robo Preacher.
Oh my god. Next up, limited release in theaters, so who the hell knows when it'll really come out. But April 13th, it's called Chariot. It looks kind of interesting. It's this weird sci-fi about dreams and alternate realities and possibly reincarnation, I think, if I'm reading the plot summary correctly. But stars John Malkovich, although I do wonder he's low down on the list if he's maybe one of those like 5-minute roles like you see a lot of people.
Because he's very heavily featured in the
very
trailer.
Much. Yeah.
Very heavily featured.
God, he's doing lots of things on this episode. He's also doing a face for it. Very
Malkovich
funny.
looks like he's really, really going. Like this looks like a very fun Malkovich performance.
He's having a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I wanted to include it. I mean, it's an interesting sci-fi idea, but also we just haven't seen that much Malkovich lately, and he's great when he's great.
I love him. I mean, you're right, because it's like it's a dream, and then we could change the dream. And I'm like, are they inceptioning their inception? So
Yeah,
I'm guessing you had that. Flatliners, the near-death experience until like it
that's a
starts
good one.
haunting people. I didn't see Last Night in Soho, but that kind of fabric of reality feel. I know I was going to ask you about that. And then the last one, The Science of Sleep, which is a great underrated Michel Gondry movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Science of Sleep would be a good one here. Speaking of Michel Gondry, I had Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I feel like anytime there's like interesting like near future tech that lets you mess with the mind or go into your imagination and stuff like that, I think of Eternal Sunshine. But yeah, Science of Sleep is a really good one. Flatliners is a great one. That definitely is what this feels like, I would say, the most. So really good piece there.
You're welcome, Dave.
All right, let's go to. I've got a lot of movies I'm excited about this month, but this one might be the most.
For you. Yeah, this is.
My God.
Come on, nothing can top this for you. Well, maybe the one after it. So
that's true. The one after it as well. But April 22nd in theaters, it's The Northman, the third movie from Robert Eggers, the director of The Witch and The Lighthouse. Not a A24 film this time, but a very A24 feeling cast with Alexander Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman, Ethan Hawke, Anya Taylor-Joy, Bjork. It's a Viking epic
about Willem Dafoe in there.
Oh, and Willem Dafoe as well.
A good impression.
That was a terrible Willem Dafoe, but
he's got a huge cock.
Yeah. That apparently is true from what I've heard. Every time I see this trailer in the theater, I want to stand up and cheer when he catches the spear in midair and throws it back at the guy. It's like the best thing I've ever seen. But
you're right. This would be one to see in the theater right here.
Oh yeah. I can't wait. I cannot wait. What do you got for pieces?
All right. Well, I mean, I think really my maybe even my favorite, it was my first or second favorite movie last year, The Green Knight. This definitely feels like The Green Knight to me. Obviously, there's a whole Game of Thrones thing going on here, the revenge, and then this Skarsgård, growing up to avenge his father. Tonally different, but my name is on, fuck it, Princess Bride. That's what I was trying to do, but I messed up the quote.
Yeah, a little Princess Bride in there too. Yeah, good stuff there. I've got things like Apocalypto on my list, like a totally like authentic period feeling revenge movie. Gladiator, guy returning to his homeland to take back what's his. 300, just heavily stylized action, but I can't wait to see this. I don't really know that many Viking specific movies. Like I know things that are medieval and things like that, but not Viking specific. So I didn't have anything
that TV
there.
show Vikings.
Yeah, there's the TV show Vikings. We could use that. Why not?
Go on, Dave.
Okay, let's just move on to my other most excited movie of this month, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Theaters on April 22nd. It's Nicolas Cage starring as Nick Cage, an actor who is down on his luck but is invited to a billionaire's house for the weekend. And then shit hits the fan when I think it's the FBI are investigating the billionaire for being a criminal. Things get super meta, super over the top, super crazy. What do you think about this?
Look, I love the idea of it, and then I kind of was a little bummed out after.
Okay.
Like I liked the first half of it, and that would have been fine with me. But this like whole like now I'm working for the FBI thing, that looked just kind of like, I don't know. I mean, we've talked about Rouge de Guerre like 4 times already this year,
I know,
right?
it keeps getting delayed. I think it's delayed again.
It's the same thing, right? And I feel like, again, this is like one where it's like, now what if we put another twist in here and this and that? And it's like, I'm guessing you probably have adaptation on here somewhere as well, right? And
of course, like, they played Happy Together by the Turtles.
And there's not an extra twist in there. It's just allowed to be weird and like take its time, right? So like I wasn't thrilled that like the dude he visits is like one of the worst people in the world, but of course I want to see it. I picked those 2, and then here's a third one, a very cool movie with Patton Oswalt called Big Fan, where he's an obsessive football fan, I think for the New York Giants back in the
I heard really good things about that. I never did see it though.
I'm killing it with all the obscure pieces today, if I do
You
say
got
so
some good
myself.
ones.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I should say also, I'm a little worried about Tiffany Haddish being in this. I don't think I've liked her in anything yet.
How
Um,
about the conversation she and Ike Barinholtz have? Did you see the Croods too? I'm 44 years old. I've seen Face Off. Like, come on, guy.
I'm not gonna let any of this get me down. I can't wait for this movie. Yeah, of course I had adaptation. The only other one that I was gonna bring up was Get Him to the Greek. You know, an over the top, heightened version of a celebrity, and getting into big action comedy things with Russell Brand there. So
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know,
there's plenty of these that we've mentioned over the past episodes. Galaxy
yeah,
Quest, Bowfinger,
yeah.
whatever. So
So, last one for the month. It's crazy that this is happening again, but we've
every
got
month,
another on
every
every
month.
month. I feel like they should just do 12 in a row and just like
Yeah,
make it a year of Neeson.
that would
It's
be.
crazy.
I would be down with that. Yeah.
It's insane. But Liam Neeson has another action movie. This one directed by Martin Campbell, so that's kind of cool. And also stars Monica Bellucci and Guy Pearce. He's a hitman who refuses to do a job, and so then he becomes a target by the other hitmen. At least I think that's what's going on here. It's called Memory, April
Well, you left
29th.
out the um, important part that he is like he can't remember things. Like he's medically, like he seems to have like that short-term memory loss no matter what he
I
does.
feel like
Right?
they weren't like going too deep into that in the trailer, did they?
I
Like
thought
it's
so.
there. Really? Okay. Because I knew that was there from reading the plot synopsis, but I didn't even like catch that when watching the trailer. So
Are you sure you watched the trailer, or were you just like,
I
nah, I don't want to because I might have to watch this and then I
no,
won't?
I think maybe I was watching it and I was like Liam Neeson, Liam Neeson, Liam Neeson, Liam
Yeah,
Neeson. Like I got it.
I'll
I
give
got
you that. So,
it. What do you got for pieces
well,
here?
can I just say, we've covered a lot of Neeson this year. This looks
Hmm.
better than all the rest of them. I think. Like I'm excited
You're
for
right.
this one.
You're
You
absolutely
know.
right. This looks like the best of the bunch as far as Neeson is concerned. I'll go see this one with my dad.
Yeah, this looks fun. Obviously, again, we're riffing on Taken because he's always, some type of human trafficking has to be in much of his films for some reason. I demand to have human trafficking in this picture, right? He says, "I am the bad guy" at some point, which reminded me of Breaking Bad. I am the man who knocks. But
Oh, that's good. Yeah, yeah.
also, can we give a little shout out to hey yo Scott Hall, the bad guy, Razor Ramon, who just died, R.I.P. Hey, yo, say hello to the bad guy. He just died recently. So,
Oh, yeah.
bad times past, but bad guys are forever, or something like that. And then, like I said, there's that kind of True Detective season 3 and Memento, and this also has Guy Pearce. So, that kind of feeling of memory loss and how it affects them. And, he's protecting the girls. So that had that, he's a hitman, a professional.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had The Professional on my list as well. Also, for that aspect of it, I had Logan, this old guy who he knows he's probably going to die here, but he wants to protect the girl, one last thing. And then I also thought of John Wick Chapter 3 because of all the other assassins kind of being after him, it seems like, after he does something that pisses them all off. So, yeah, and of
Looks
course,
good.
Taken.
Looks
Yeah,
good.
it looks good. It looks like the best of the bunch, like we said, as far as these movies go. So yeah, I mean that's our last one for the month. Of course, we've got Sonic the Hedgehog 2. We've got the Fantastic Beasts sequel. We've got Duel, but there's still no trailer, which I'm really excited about. Duel. That's a new Riley Stearns movie, the art of self-defense guy. But trailer's still not out somehow. But anyway, that does it.
All right.
That does it for the month, Jason. What's going on with you and Awesome Movie here?
We are getting hot and heavy into our season 11, 1980, a great year for films. Dave, we've already put out the season premiere, which was 9 to 5. We've recorded episodes for other movies like Caddyshack. Later in the season, I believe we're going to have, Ordinary People was the Best Picture winner that year. There's a lot of good stuff in 1980. This is going to be a very good season, I think, Dave.
Absolutely. I've been loving the movies we've been watching for this season.
Let
So,
me say
yeah.
this. This is such a good season that one of our bonus episodes is Empire Strikes Back. It didn't even make the regular rotation.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So everybody make sure to check that out. And Jason, I say it every month, but I promise we'll get you on a regular episode soon.
Dave, I don't care. You guys are slop pigs, and I don't want
Let's
to be
do memory.
associated with you.
Let's do memory. Come on.
Love you, Brandy. Bye.
I'm Josh Bell.
And I'm Jason Harris, and we co-host a podcast called Awesome Movie Year.
Each season, we take a look back at an awesome year for movies, which is every year.
We deep dive into these specific years, and we pick out why they were such great years for films. We go over the biggest hits, the biggest flops, the best picture, some personal picks, some cult classics.
Years we've covered in past seasons include 1994, 2003, 1977, and 1984, and we've got all of film history to look forward to. So check us out at awesomemovieyear.com or wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about some of the movies coming out in April. Thanks, as always, to Jason for joining me on those. And thank you to you for listening. If you're not already, make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you like what we do here on the show, make sure to drop that 5-star rating, and a little review would be nice. We do appreciate that. You can follow us on social media at PiecingPod and join our Facebook group Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. And also, don't forget to check out our Patreon, the Produced by David Rosen Patreon, where I combine bonus content from Piecing It Together, and Awesome Movie Year, Jason's podcast, and also from my music career. Lots of great content. Sometimes it's exclusive just to the Patreon. Sometimes it's advanced before it's going to come out for everybody. But you can check that out. It is patreon.com/bydavidrosen. We've got 8 subscribers right now, including... we gave a shout out to Brandy Bell there during the episode, but lots of great stuff for you guys to check out. So, maybe if you want to support everything we're doing, go subscribe. So, speaking of my music, let's close this out with a piece of my music, as we always do. And I don't know, I'm just going to go with a random one here. I'm going to go from my album, A Different Kind of Dream, with the track PalinDRONE. So, enjoy PalinDRONE. And we'll be back with more Piecing It Together real soon. We got a bunch of episodes in the can right now, so lots that are going up on the Patreon first, but lots that will be in the queue for our main Piecing It Together feed. So again, lots coming real soon.
an All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.